Good morning. Happy Saturday. Woodward Bets back in the house. Beer and Beastie back with you once again. Scott, I'm guaranteeing is probably not out of bed. A severe hangover. They're down in Miami having a good time. Exactly. Well, we're getting up. There he is. Now he's upgraded here. So he went from laying in the weeds with the Rainier. Then he was wading in the water. I believe it was an Alaskan Amber. Yeah, there we are. A fantastic beer, by the way, if you're into craft beer. And now the whole barrel of beer. So slowly, progressing, getting there. We'll see what tomorrow brings for Scott. But we are here to talk everything in the sports world. Again, things changing by the minute here. So we'll try to keep you updated on the latest. But Beastie, good morning, my man. How we doing today?
I'm great, thank you. I'm still waiting. I know the MO this week is we talk about the weather briefly because it's just what dudes do. You're like, oh, it's nice out. I'm wearing my flannel. I'm still waiting here you're in Michigan as well. I'm still waiting for that one big snowfall. And again, we're like less than 10 days away from Christmas, and I want some snow. I want to go sled or ski. I don't want to fall on my face, but I want snow. There it is. I just predisposed to loving the cold weather here in Michigan. And I don't know if I've ever told you, but I used to plow and salt the roads for a living. I hated my life, but I made the switch. I got to go to school. You want to broadcast and write, you're not going to get it done working 55 hours straight plowing the roads, but I miss it. I like the snow.
What kind of schedule would that be? Is that 55 hours? Those guys, I mean, I got to give them credit because they're up at all hours of the night. Who knows what kind of shifts are being worked there? So just spell it out. Like what kind of life was that? It sounds like not a great life. I mean, we're all grateful for it. I mean, we got to have the road salted, things plowed. I mean, I think those guys and gals definitely go overlooked a little bit. I mean, they're some heroes in their own right. But what kind of schedule? What was life like doing some of that stuff?
Well, I worked for a private company because I know that the county road guys in those big orange dump trucks, they can only work, I believe, 10 or 12 hours in a row, and then they switch. But at a private company, man, if there was like 8-10 inches of snow, we'd get called in at 1-2 in the morning, and then we would not go home until everything was done. The most I worked straight through, it's probably not safe, and I shouldn't say this, but I didn't do anything stupid. I worked 46 hours straight. Almost
Wow.
a 4 in a row straight through. Granted, I would take a 20-minute, 15-minute nap here and there, but it's just straight through. It's just coffee, and it wasn't fun. I don't miss that. But again, it was all cash because it was the same company. I'm cutting grass and I'm running the tractor and I'm chalking ball diamonds so I could collect unemployment from what I did in the summer. So all the snow plowing and all the salting the roads was all cash, and it was a bump in pay. It was almost double what I was making because not a lot of folks want to do it, and if they do, not a lot. I mean, it's a skill and it's a talent, I think, in terms of plowing it and getting down from there. So I don't miss it. That whole time I hated bad weather and cold weather, but now I've learned to enjoy it because if it snows, guess what? I'm warm and comfy in my bed. What do I care?
Right, absolutely. So I'm gonna put a poll up. Like who's gone on a longer bender, we'll call it. Beastie working 48 hours straight, or Scott down in Miami drinking them $18 Modelo's. Maybe he's on a 48-hour bender as well. So interesting though. Again, I give those folks a lot of credit for some of the stuff that they do. But let's get into some of the stuff for today. First, housekeeping. Twitter, make sure you're following us at Woodward Bets. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribing, hitting that thumbs up button. If you're catching us on Twitch, we're new over there, so welcome aboard. Make sure you're following the network as well at Woodward Sports. Tons of great shows all throughout the week on the network. So if you like our show, you like what we're doing here, make sure that you're supporting the entire network and go and checking everything out over there. So Saturday, kind of the breakdown for today. We'll talk a little college football. We got some games kicking off, so we'll give you some thoughts there. NFL, we are down to one game for tonight. As we talked about on yesterday's show, the Raiders and Browns game has been rescheduled, so we will talk up and down on this Patriots and Colts game. Should be a fun game tonight at 8:15. We'll give you a best bet in that game. Being it so early in the morning, we're not going to touch much on NHL, NBA, but we will. If you follow us on Twitter, you just follow that easy directive there. We may post some picks, some best bets for you guys in the NHL and the NBA later on today. So make sure you're following that account. if you're looking for the best bets in those sports, you're going to get them through Twitter later on today. So let's get into it here. News-wise, the main thing we didn't talk about yesterday, we talked a lot of rescheduled games. We got news after we went off the air yesterday. The Rams and the Seahawks game was moved. We talked about that. The Washington and Philadelphia game has now been moved as well in the NFL. So some more Tuesday. We got a Monday doubleheader, now a Tuesday doubleheader. I'm sure more news to come, as we talked about yesterday, trying to navigate these waters. We're doing the best we can here, but hey, we get a little long weekend of football. What's wrong with that?
No, not at all. And yesterday on the Friday show, you said, you love football. Everybody loves football, but would we want it every day? I think it goes to that saying where, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it becomes dull. If we had professional football every day of the week, would it still be as big of a deal as it is now? Because when you look around Sunday, it's like it's all what it is. It's supposed Sunday. Oh my God, I can be in peace. I can watch football all day. It's almost like it's like a religion here. But if we had football every day of the week, it would just be, I might watch the game, I might not. I got some plans maybe, but on Sunday we drop and stop everything we're doing to watch football. So if we had it every day of the week, I don't think that would be a good move. And to be honest with you, the NFL owns us in terms of weekend football, right? Friday, Saturday, and then Sundays around, boom, we're watching football. So I'm with you, as you said yesterday, right? Football every day is a bad move, but you at this time of the season, you love a doubleheader on Monday. Tuesday, that's not so bad. And then we got Wednesday free and all that, and boom, Christmas is there. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little time in the NFL, especially when you're doing DFS, when you're doing content, to recharge. I love I like the little break of Tuesday, Wednesday to kind of look back at last week, kind of digest everything, give yourself a little break, and then you move forward to the next week. But we're gonna have to do that on the fly, just on the fly, and that's what we are certainly going to do here. Certainly not complaining, about more football. So Monday lines up with a doubleheader here. So we have, what do we have Monday? Rams, and so that one's Tuesday. So Monday is going to be Raiders and Browns earlier in the day. I believe that's a 4 o'clock kickoff. And then Tuesday we'll have the Rams Seahawks at 4, Philadelphia at Washington at 7. And then Monday night we still have that Chicago Minnesota game at its normal time. So we will be tracking all those games whenever they're going to go. We're going to be here at Woodward Bets. We do a show every single day, 7 days a week. So if you're new, welcome aboard. 6 to 7 every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Saturday. And, of course, we'll be back tomorrow morning breaking down whatever games we have left, Beastie. We're going to go through them and give you the plays you need and best bets in the NFL. So make sure you're tuning in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. For that. So let's talk a little college football here. We're going to get in to the NFL game tonight. We got a lot of different information and picks, trends, and things that we're looking at. But bowls are here. So we saw the other night kickoff on Friday with Middle Tennessee and Toledo, Northern Illinois, Coastal Carolina. So let's just briefly look at some of these games, see if we have any thoughts on these. We'll do them 2 at a time here. So opening game, and I love these bowl game names. I mean, this one is classic. The roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl. I mean, I can't make that up. First of all, I've never heard of roofclaim.com, so that's new to me. Boca Raton certainly sounds nice right about now. But we got Western Kentucky and Appalachian State there. Appalachian State, 3-point favorites in that one. And then at 2:15 today, we have the PUBG Mobile New Mexico Bowl, UTEP and Fresno State. So any thoughts on there? We'll break these into 2-game segments here. Looks like Fresno State, heavy favorites in that one at minus 11.5.
Yeah, really quick. I used to date a girl. We used to go to like horse races, right? We could watch them on TV or go there in person. And when she would bet, she'd like the color of the, in the program, right? It would say horse number 4 or 5, and it's like red and green. And then the horse name was always something crazy. It was all like Beef Eater, Rusty Beef, or it was something weird. I like that because it's the name. It looks good to me. That's how I'm choosing these bowl game here and these bets here. You love the roof.com claim bowl in Boca Raton. You'd like to think there's a whole ton of retired folks down there in Florida that'll be at that game. Maybe they'll be going to get, giving away Metamucil or something down there. But to me, you look at, I love Appalachian State. I've always had not a thorn in my side, but you remember they beat Michigan in the Big House years ago, and I've been a fan of them ever since. And I don't believe that they're Division One, unless I'm mistaken, unless they come up. They were always down a rung here, but they're always high flying. They have that just go. They move the pace of play in this one. And if you look at Western Kentucky, they're 8-5. I believe they're getting it opened at 2.5, and now they're getting 3. I don't think it matters. I'm going to go in on Appalachian State. Not only the money line here, but I love Appalachian State minus 2.5. And when you look at the Pug Mobile New Mexico Bowl here, what strikes me as odd is, Fresno State, they were all the rage at the beginning of the season. Fresno State and Nevada, they had some young quarterback wide receiver combos, maybe able to make their way in the NFL. So to me, a game like Fresno State is, do we see the full complement of their staff in terms of playing here? Because as you know, I know we're not talking about Michigan State, but you're going to get cases like this where kids declare for the draft and then they relinquish playing in the bowl game because of their draft stock and the money and where they're going to go. So that was a roundabout way of saying, you look at Fresno State, they're minus 14.5. That tells you all you need to know. I love the over 51.5 here, and I'm all in on Fresno State minus the 14.5.
All right, I think I'm on the underdogs in this game. I just, some of these teams are, like you said, who knows the motivation for them, things like that. Appalachian State, I don't disagree, and I'm glad you brought up that Michigan point. I'm sure anytime that name is brought up, Michigan fans get that little quiver, like, that memory will live forever. But Western Kentucky been pretty good against the spread this season, so that one, +3, I don't mind them. I think I'm going to back them here in this early game. And then UTEP getting 11.5 points. So right now we're on opposite ends, which is not bad. I always love to hear other opinions. I think in life in general, I think part of the problem right now is people aren't allowed to have an opinion or disagree with somebody. In a lot of cases, Beastie, you'd be jumping off the video here. I disagreed with you. How could I possibly do that? But that's the beauty of a conversation where we can each have our different viewpoints here. So certainly respect the picks on those, but I'm leaving the underdogs on these two games here. Let's go to the afternoon here. We got UAB and number 13 BYU, our only ranked team in action here today. BYU minus 6.5 at most places, sitting at 7 at a few books. And then we have a local team kicking off in the Lending Tree Bowl, Eastern Michigan and Liberty. Liberty, big 9.5, 10-point favorites there. So thoughts on these two games?
Yeah, right off the bat, you look at UAB and BYU. This one seems it's going to go exactly how we think it's going to go. Even after Zach Wilson was gone and drafted by the Jets, BYU has still won 10 games here in this one. I think BYU runs away with this one. They're only minus 8.5. That one was shocking at first glance. This one seemed to me, I mean, look, I'm not a bookie, I'm not a sports book, but I do like to look ahead at games and say, you know what, this is what I think the spread is going to be. It's a good way to challenge myself. I don't know if you do that kind of stuff. Maybe I'm a weirdo there, but when I looked at this game, BYU only minus 8.5. That seems too good to be true. I would imagine BYU could probably get away with minus 14.5, maybe even up to 17 here. So I think BYU just lays down the hammer to UAB in this one. So give me BYU, as I've said, minus 8.5. And then when we get to Eastern Michigan, how can I go against the Eagles here? Eastern Michigan, I told you pre-show before we were live, my uncle is the equipment manager there for Eastern Michigan. It's not a paid position. He travels and he takes all the pads and footballs and all that stuff from city to city when Eastern Michigan is traveling. I applied there in college. I got in, but I went elsewhere here. So I'm telling you all this nonsense nobody cares about. But I think Eastern Michigan wins this one. They're one of those scrappy teams here. They couldn't even be from Michigan. But when you look at what they do, the head coach, it's an all new staff primarily. They've turned it over here. And their head coach really has these kids rolling here. They would run through a brick wall for him. And again, they've only won 7 games this season. You might say, well, hey, 7 games, that stinks. Michigan, Ohio State, they're winning double digits here. Let me remind folks, Eastern Michigan used to just always go, win one game a season. There were several seasons in a row where they didn't win one game. So Eastern Michigan, 7 wins in a bowl game. This is what this what this school is all about. They love it. They relish it. And I would imagine quite a few Eastern Michigan Eagles fans will be in attendance in this one. Give me Eastern Michigan. They're getting 7.5 points. Seems too good to be true. And yeah, I have a lot of local blood in that game here. So I love Eastern Michigan, Chris.
I'm an Eastern Michigan graduate, so I'm with you here on this one. I don't know that I want to take Liberty's a pretty damn good team. Now the record doesn't really indicate it, but this one, both teams 7-5. I'm just glad to see Eastern making it to a bowl game, like you said. It wasn't that long ago where they were the laughing stock, not only locally. I mean, you had Central and Western, playing some good football. Eastern was always the team, like you said, barely win one game. I remember playing, I don't know if you were, NCAA football, what was my favorite sports video game. And you could start a dynasty and do all the recruiting and things like that. Hated to see that game go away. By the way, it sounds like they are bringing it back if you are a fan. But the challenge was always, okay, you think you're good at this game, take Eastern Michigan and build this program back up. You would get barely any recruits on it. It would be a struggle. It was very realistic. It would take years and years and years of playing this franchise mode to get Eastern Michigan up to snuff. And they've done it in real life. So it's great to see them in a bowl game again. As far as the game and the bets go, I'm leaning more on a total in this one. I'm going to go under the 58.5. I know both these teams average over 30 points per game. I just don't know that they're going to get there in this one. So under for me on that 58.5. As far as BYU, UAB, I don't disagree with you on BYU. They're clearly the better team. This game, I want to go over, though. These are two teams that can really score the ball. The defenses have been solid, but we're talking about this could be a shootout back and forth here. So 54.5 if you can find it. I really like that number on the over in this one. So a couple totals there. So let's move on to the nightcap. We got Utah State and Oregon State. And Jimmy Kimmel has hold on. I'm just seeing this for the first time. Jimmy Kimmel has a bowl game. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. I mean, good for this guy. I mean, he's all over the place right now. So unbelievable. So we got Oregon State, Utah State there. The Beavers 7.5 point favorites in that one, and then the nightcap 9:15 tonight in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. 23rd ranked Louisiana and 7-5 Marshall. Louisiana, we'll say Louisiana Lafayette to -4 point favorites there. So thoughts on these two games at Jimmy Kimmel Bowl? I mean, I'm still shocked by this one.
You know what? As you were talking, it made me think of, I looked back maybe like 5 or 6 months ago. Jimmy Kimmel's big friends with Howard Stern. They're always, Jimmy Kimmel's always calling into Howard and everything. So you look back through Jimmy Kimmel, this guy's been on the air with his Tonight Show for, I believe, 19 or 20 years. I had no idea. I don't even remember if I've ever watched that show live. They splice clips together, for social media. And it's a great interview. He's cool. He's easygoing. He kind of reminds me of Jimmy Fallon on Channel 4, but Jimmy Kimmel getting a bowl game, that's outstanding. As you said, to be fair with you, anybody that's watching this now, or Spence, behind the glass, or even you, Chris, I don't ever remember in my life a bowl game being named after a celebrity or an artist. You never see the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Bowl, or the Eminem Marshall Mathers Bowl. So Jimmy Kimmel might be in rarefied air here in this one. And you look at Utah State, Oregon State, the Beavers. I know we have a Beaver photo, right? Holding a keg of beer or something, unless I'm way off here. But Oregon State has been an outstanding team all year. Granted, their record doesn't show that. By all means, you would see this and go, well, if you're just a casual fan, Utah State's won 10 games, Oregon State only 7. So boom, right off the bat, you would make your decision. But I firmly believe Oregon State can win this game. I think it's going to be close. And when you look at it, -7.5, that paints another picture here, but I'm willing to take Oregon State minus the 7.5 here. Hopefully some sort of last minute touchdown here. It's tied, and touchdown, I don't know. I probably wouldn't cover that way, but regardless, give me Oregon State -7.5 here. And then when we go to the RL Carrier Bowl Dome in New Orleans, I think Louisiana, it's ULSA or something like that. Marshall, Louisiana. We all know the story about Marshall and the plane crash, and I believe Denzel Washington, Mr. All Right, All Right, All Right Lincoln commercial guy was
Matthew
the
McConaughey.
coach. Matthew McConaughey was the coach there. That's why I love on this broadcast. If I'm failing or I'm stammering and stuttering, you'll pick me right back up, Chris. Thank you for that. This one, it's going to go exactly how you think it's going to go. Louisiana 12-1. They're ranked 23rd. I think Louisiana just lays the wood here. To be honest with you, instead of the spreads or the money line, I would prefer the over 49.5 here in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on Oregon State. You mentioned some of the, somebody that's just looking at this game. I always try to picture you. You mentioned coming up with the spreads in your own. I do the same thing. I try to see what the spreads are going to be, and doing it year after year after year, you get pretty close. So when things look off, you can generally attack that. But I also try to think, what is the average fan, if they're looking at this game, what are they thinking? And you nailed all the points. Utah State, 10 wins. I mean, this Oregon State team only has 7. That right away is a check mark in the Utah State column for the average fan. A 7.5 is always what if they only win by a touchdown? I'm getting 7.5 points. So people love that hook. I think that hook's there for a reason, to try to get people on the Utah State side of things. I like Oregon State in this game as well for a lot of reasons, but we're also seeing 60% of the money right now coming in on Oregon State, where the bets are kind of split between the two. So a lot of different factors here, but I like the Beavers there. As far as this night game, I don't have a strong lean in this one. This feels like another one. If Louisiana's ranked, they're 12-1. They're going against the 7-5 Marshall team. Why are they only 4-point favorites? The numbers come down from 6.5. So I don't follow Louisiana. There he is, Matthew McConaughey, live here. Great movie, by the way. If you've never seen that, make sure you go check. I mean, a tragic story for sure, but they did a great job with the movie. But again, you ask yourself, why is this team 12-1? Why is the spread moving? I don't follow them enough to know. Maybe they're missing players. Guys are sitting out. But this one, for now, I'm going to leave alone, do a little bit more research throughout the day. So I don't hate your overcall there. But for me, as of now, I'll wait, see how these other bets are going to go, and then I'll get into this one later on today. So any other thoughts here? You're right on the celebrities, though. I'm surprised there hasn't been like an Oprah bowl. I mean, Oprah. Nobody loves Oprah like some Oprah. So Jimmy Kimmel, You're right. I think that's the first time I've ever seen somebody's name attached to a bowl game.
You read my mind. Nobody loves Oprah like Oprah herself here. And again, I would imagine, to name a bowl, it's all about money. I think notoriety plays a little role there. But if you got, 10 million or 20 million, because when the teams play in the bowls, they split a little bit of extra money. Bigger the bowl, bigger the payout here. So I would imagine it's all about, some cash. What do you have here, and how big is your name here? And I do want to say, over the years, granted, I'm in my late 30s, Tony the Tiger Ball. That would be an outstanding game.
Oh, we lost your audio there, Beastie.
Well, excuse me. I owe you a 6-pack of beer. I muted when I was sneezing or coughing here. What I was going to say is, going back through the years, when there's a game like this, the bowl games, you just have them on the TV, but you're not actually watching. It's background noise while you're putting up the tree, while you're wrapping gifts, while you're making dinner, or, hanging out with the loved one here. So this slate of games is outstanding just for that. It's Saturday, for God's sake. So Christmas is a week away almost from today here. So put this stuff on and just watch these young kids do their thing. This is very happy, and it's fantastic that these kids get to play on this.
Yeah, it's like the Army-Navy game. I always love, putting that. I'm not paying attention to every single play of that game, but the pageantry of it, in some of these schools, they're not playing for a national championship, but this is their Super Bowl. This is their big moment. The Eastern Michigans, the Marshalls, the teams that are just squeezing in. These are big games for these kids. So I always love the passion and agree. Just having these games on, even if it's in the background, just kind of paying attention to it casually. Adding a little bet in there always makes it fun. Hopefully we hand you some winners there on this college card. But let's turn our attention to the NFL. Again, we're down to one game tonight. We have the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. I know you got a ton of thoughts on this game. This spread has moved dramatically in favor of the Colts. They're up to 2.5-point favorites here, 45.5 on the total. The big news, no Damian Harris for New England. So let's get into it. I'm allowed to break this thing down. Thoughts on this game? DFS plays. Ramondre Stevenson, is he a guy we want to play in our contest? Thoughts here on this Saturday night football game tonight, New England and Indianapolis.
Yeah, again, I say this all the time. I mean, if you go to any broadcast here at Woodward Sports, most people talk that way but I truly believe it. I start every broadcast out with everybody here talking hockey or football. This is going to be an outstanding game, and I truly mean that for every game. But this one has a little bit more of a punch here in terms of being interesting and playoff implications. Granted, they don't play in the same division, but they are both in the AFC here. New England heading to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. I believe the over-under opened at 45. As it stands now, Saturday morning, it's at 45.5 here. And when you look down through this thing, casual fan from a 10,000-foot view, as Beerman always says, you look at some DVP matchups that really stick out to me. And for that fact, Carson Wentz, he might be off the table for me in terms of DFS, both on FanDuel and DraftKings. The Patriots have come on pretty strong as of late. And yes, they are first overall against defending opposing quarterbacks there. Now, look, if it was, Tom Brady, was the quarterback, or, name a stud quarterback, Lamar Jackson, something along those lines. If they were the ones playing against New England here, you might be able to give them a bump because they've done it for so long. They're a stud. But do we really trust Carson Wentz in a primetime spot here against a really good defensive team to kind of get the job done? And my question, I'll ask it and answer it right now. I just don't trust Carson Wentz in the spot, and I'll tell you why. How much are they going to ask him to do, given the fact that they have Jonathan Taylor to just ram the ball, down the Patriots' throats? And this one is going to be a slugfest. I don't see it necessarily being some high fly gun show like Thursday night between Kansas City and the Rams. The Colts, they're 15th overall against defending opposing wide receivers. So Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, even Nelson Aguilar, they are all in play for me here in this one. And then we go to the Colts side of things in terms of wide receivers. Patriots, 5th overall against opposing wide receivers here. T.Y. Hilton, if he's on your list to play tonight, then maybe you should rethink playing sports. That ship has sailed for T.Y. a long time ago. $9,000 on FanDuel, $5,800 on DraftKings. No, thank you. If I'm going to hone in on any Indianapolis Colts offensive player not named Jonathan Taylor, it's going to be Michael Pittman Jr. 11.5 on FanDuel, $10,400 on DraftKings. Now, look, there's certain kids, certain players that, DVP is cool, a casual fan. I mention it all the time, but it's a building block in what I do in terms of DFS here. Yes, it plays a role here, but when you get a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., who will probably be targeted 10, 11 times, that's ambitious, but this kid is going to be peppered with targets, and given his price tag and given the spot here Saturday night, I fully expect Michael Pittman to put up 75, 80 yards and score a touchdown, receive a touchdown here. And when you look at the tight ends, there's only really one way to go here. It's the New England Patriots tight ends, because Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, do we trust these guys? The Patriots, they're first overall against opposing tight ends. So Jack Doyle, he's a fun kind of play in seasonal formats when people are on bye weeks or with all these injuries. But when it's just one game, when it's one tight end or two tight ends here, Jack Doyle is off the map here. Mo Alley Cox, $6,000 on FanDuel, only $1,000 on DraftKings here. So to me, it's all about Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And maybe if anybody's seen my work, or you've watched these recordings here or broadcasts with Woodward Sports, I have a weird affinity for tight ends on single game slates. You put Hunter Henry in the MVP spot and then Jonnu Smith at the flex, and then you vice versa. Jonnu Smith there. I think that the New England Patriots, really find fun ways to get Jonnu Smith involved in this one. $6,000 on FanDuel, as I said, $2,400 on DraftKings. Indy is at the bottom of the barrel here in defending them. So Hunter Henry, you know what we're going to get. He had like a 4 or 5 game touchdown streak this season, and he's still there. He's still doing his thing. Again, there's just a feeling that I have for Jonnu Smith. And then I started from the front and went backwards. Let's rewind just briefly here. Mac Jones, $13,000 on FanDuel, $9,800 on DraftKings. Again, of the two, him or Wentz, I would prefer Mac Jones. And I would imagine, given the last time the Patriots played, Mac Jones only attempted, 3-4 passes. I don't think that happens here again. This is going to be in a dome, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis here. And then when we talk about the running backs not named Jonathan Taylor, who is 17.5 on FanDuel, $12,800 on DraftKings, it's already been said, Damian Harris is not playing tonight. So that affords the rookie Rondale Moore a full helping here tonight. And I think this kid takes the ball and run with it. We've seen what he's done this season. He's been outstanding from start to finish, both in running, pass blocking, and catching the ball out of the backfield. So Ramondre Stevenson, a lock to make my line. I mean, he should be captain MVP, but at worst, Ramondre Stevenson should be a flex. One thing I will say briefly, that kind of puts Brandon Bolden in play as well. With Damian Harris in the lineup and Stevenson, Bolden sees what, 2-3 carries a game, maybe a couple targets here, but now it's going to be Stevenson and Brandon Bolden, and I'm going to take that to the bank here. So if anybody's watching or needs a pen and a paper here, I'm running with Stevenson, Brandon Bolden, Pittman, Hunter Henry, and Jonnu Smith here, and we're just going to get it done. And again, Jonathan Taylor goes without saying. If you don't have him in your lineups tonight, what are you really doing? You should, question your DFS playing abilities.
Let's stay on Ramondre Stevenson, and I think more for season-long folks, that are debating, what do I do? Do I plug him in a lineup? So I know that you love to do projections. How bullish are you on Ramondre Stevenson? Is he a guy you feel good enough about to plug in that season-long? And again, we're waiting through. Do I play the guy on Saturday? Do I wait and see what happens and play the Sunday guy? Now we have Monday, Tuesday games. How good do you feel about him? DFS, he's a value. I love the Bolden call. He's cheap out there. We know his affinity in the passing game, but do you feel good enough about Stevenson to pull the trigger in a season-long league?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why, and I'll keep it as brief as possible. Given what's going on this season, all those big-name injuries, I've never seen a season where there's just been so many nasty injuries to such big-time players, torn ACLs, rotator cuff injuries. And one thing I've always seen, right, the Thursday games, Jalen Guyton scored. We know what happened there. People were freaked out to get Austin Eckler in their lineups because it's a Thursday game, because most folks, they're so traditional. If they're not playing on Sunday, then I don't want them in my lineup. So when you look at this one, Saturday evening, I'll ask anybody that's watching this that's like, well, I don't know if I should. Well, who do you have better? Who could you make your lineup better off as if you don't have Ramondre Stevenson in here? Yes, I'm bullish on him. I'm glad you brought that up. I have Stevenson for at least a dozen carries in this one. He normally, so far this season, averages about 4.3 yards a pop in this one. I think there's a case given the DVP matchup and given what the Colts are doing or not doing in terms of coverage linebackers, Darius Leonard, and so on and so forth. I think Stevenson is a lock for 12 to 13 carries, and that's on the low end. As I said, I could see Stevenson getting 60, 70 yards on the ground, and then you could probably add another 20, 30 yards in reception yardage. So to me, Chris, Ramondre Stevenson, well over 100 total yards in this one. I think he finds the end zone once, along with a couple receptions, as I said. So to me, Stevenson makes for an outstanding marquee kind of decision today, both in seasonal formats and in DFS formats.
I agree completely. I think knowing he's going to be the main guy, knowing as good as he's been this season, I have no issues playing him. And it's not like you look at the slate, there's not a ton of great running back plays. I mean, guys like James Robinson and Myles Gaskin, who I don't think we talked about the other day, Gaskin and Salvin Ahmed, good to go for Miami this week. But I mean, these are the type of running back plays that we're talking. So Stevenson in this game, I have no problems with him. We've seen the big playability. They depend on him. We know he's good around the goal line. So I like that play a lot. Touchdown odds sitting at plus 100 here on FanDuel for Ramondre Stevenson. Some of the rushing props, I don't see one active right now, but I got to imagine he's probably near 70 here in this game. So with all that being said, we've reached the point of the show where we gotta put our money up. It's best bets time. So we talk college football. We talk this NFL game. Again, if you're looking for NBA, NHL picks, we don't want to dice them out to you guys here at 10 in the morning. We want to get you the up-to-date picks. So we will do that on Twitter. So pay attention to our Twitter account here at Woodward Bets later on today, and we'll give you some winners in those sports as well. But basically, college football, NFL, give the people some winners, your best bets. What do you got?
Absolutely. I'm taking Eastern Michigan plus 7.5 points in the Lending Tree Bowl. I also love Oregon State minus 7.5 in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. If it loses, I'll send Kimmel an email and ask for my money back. In terms of the actual football game tonight, the Patriots head to the Colts, Lucas Oil Stadium. I love the idea of not high flying, but just a good ground and pound game. You're looking at Mac Jones versus Wentz, Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson. I love those two young young running backs, but I still think I'm going to choose the under in this one. It's at 45.5, and I have the final score being somewhere between the Colts winning 24-20. So if you add that up, Beer, that's only 44 points. So you'll get under by 1.5 in this one. That's the way I'm headed tonight.
This is the guy that nailed the score the other night. So I love them score predictions. I'm going to give you 3 here as well. 2 in college football, 1 in the NFL. I'm going to go over in that UAB BYU game. I think we get a shootout on that one. So over 54.5 there. I'm with you on Oregon State. So we're going to double down on that one. -7.5. And I'm going to go with the Colts here tonight at home. They're seeing the line movement. We're seeing the bet split, but the money really riding on Indianapolis here. And I think it makes sense. The Patriots been playing well, but this Indy team, fresh, rested, ready to go. I think they take care of business here at home. So give me the Colts -2.5. And that will do it here for Saturday on Woodward Bets. Beastie, final thoughts for the people before we get out of here.
Sure, I want to tell folks with all these football, the pro football games being moved, it's okay. And you know what? I will say burning out and wearing, your burnout as a badge of honor really isn't a cool thing, because if you're burnt out, you're of no use to anybody around you. So take these games as they come. You need your peace, you need to rest, and please don't burn out. These games are going to happen whether you're laying on the couch or whether you're active outside. So be careful and be safe with your time management, let's say.
Love it. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Enjoy the games today, and best luck with your bets, with your fantasy contest. For Beastie, for our boy Spencer producing the show, for Scott laying out in the water there in Miami, drinking them $18 Modelo's. I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck today. Come on back tomorrow, 9 a.m. We'll be talking some NFL. I appreciate you guys checking out the show. And remember, best bets coming up on Twitter later today. At Woodward Bets. So thank you for the follow. Thank you for the view. Good luck today. We'll catch you tomorrow morning.